Are you ready to impress your Valentine by making something special for them on your CNC? In this video, I'm going to be sharing 6 Valentine's Day themed CNC projects that you can make and give, or make and sell. Stick around because I'm going to be making one of these for my wife for Valentine's Day, and I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Let's get started. Project number 1 is this piece of wall art, where you take a piece of MDF and you carve this tree into it with your loved one's initials. I think this is a really neat project, and it's really easy to make as well. And as you can see here, they're selling for a big profit if you wanted to sell this. So in order to make this, I would use a piece of 3/4 inch MDF. I would paint it the color that you want to paint it. A tip is to use some sanding sealer on MDF, because when you paint MDF, it raises the grain and it becomes really rough. But in order to get a nice smooth finish, use some sanding sealer, sand it down, and then paint it, and then carve it, and you'll get great results. I really like this project. One, it's personalized. I love personalized projects because they sell well, but also because MDF is super inexpensive. So there's not a lot of material cost here. So by this project being personalized and the low material cost, the combination of those two things makes the income potential huge for this project. 1, personalized items sell very well. 2, low material cost. You know, material costs you can't control, but this one has high appeal with low end materials. Number 2 are these wooden flowers. Now, who wants to buy flowers that die in 5 days when you could make some wooden flowers that don't ever die and you could personalize them? So this project probably excels on a CNC laser, but totally doable on a CNC router as well, with an 1/8 inch bit or even a 1/16 inch bit, and layering materials. So the way that this particular one is done is cutting 1/8 inch material and a laser. They cut the base out, the stem, and the petals, and then they paint the petals, and then they cut the top layer and glue those 2 layers together. It gives you that layered look. And this one has some personalization on the stem, which is a neat touch. It can be a saying, it could be a date, it can be names. So these make a great gift, but they also make a great item to sell. 1, this is a really cool item, right? You could do like a dozen roses of these and put them in a vase, and that's just a really cool idea and something that lasts forever. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options here, but the uniqueness of these would make them very sellable, as long as the low material cost. If you could get, $15 a flower, or even if you can get $10 a flower, you could make these really quickly on a laser and customize them. You could really start batching these out. Think about $120 for a dozen of wooden roses. That sounds really cool. Number 3 are personalized keychains. I really like these wooden personalized keychains that have these 4 sides where you can put different sayings on them. Just a really cool, unique gift, one of a kind, where your loved ones aren't expecting something personalized like this. And you'll see most of these items are personalized, and I think that just adds that touch. If you have a CNC router or CNC laser and you can make something like this and personalize it for a loved one, man, that is so powerful. It's so cool. So if you're going to sell these, there's a couple things to think about here. Is you can buy the keychains already, or you could produce your own little wooden blanks and make them any shape that you wanted to, and buy the chain and the little clasp and make your own keychains. Either way, you're just going to add personalization to them, whether you buy a finished piece to start off with or you make your own. But low material cost, high value here. Sell a keychain like this for $10, sell a bunch of them. I personally know that keychains and magnets are very big sellers. People love keychains because they're small, and small items sell really well. It's easier for someone to pull $5 or $10 out of their pocket than it is for someone to 50 or 100. And since they usually have a saying on them, or a picture, or in this case, personalization or a quote, that is really powerful. Again, I know I've already said this, but that having the power to do that is very powerful when it comes to selling items. So number 4 is this wooden chocolates box. When I was looking around the internet for inspiration and looking for different items, unique items, I came across this one, and this is so cool. to be able to create, you know, we all know with those heart-shaped chocolate boxes, we've all probably got them over the years, and they have the different chocolates in them. But you can make one out of wood and completely customize it and put a name on it, or to from, you know, to so-and-so, from you. There's just so many different options here. So I thought this was really, really neat. So to make this, it would take a little bit of design work, but it's really easy to do. You're making basic shapes inside a heart. And then you're gonna cut with the CNC all the way through the material. For this particular one, they used plywood, but plywood, it kind of looks cheap a little bit. I would make this a little higher end and make it out of something else. At least the front and the back, make it out of a different material, just to kind of raise the value a little bit. But nonetheless, it's done the same way no matter what material you use. So I would make this out of 3 separate pieces of wood. You have the back, the grid where the chocolates sit into is going to be glued to the back. And then you have the lid as the 3rd piece. So something like this would be really cool to give, but to sell, it'd be really unique because I haven't seen anything like this before. So again, you'd have really limited material costs. It depends what kind of wood you would use. But let's say you had $10 to $15 in, depending on the size. I'm thinking you make one big, like 18 inches tall, maybe by 12 inches wide, or vice versa. Depends how those proportions fit. But make it big, make a statement, either big or really small. Big, you can fit more chocolate in. Anyways, I digress. But I think you could put $75 on this. I think you could put $100 on this. I think maybe you could even put more. But just testing it out depends where you live, and you're going to get different amounts from where I live versus probably where you live. But that's kind of what it would go for in my area. Number 6, Valentine's cards. You know, like the Hallmark cards that you get and everybody throws away. Let's be honest. Everybody just like writes a cute little note and then they take the money out of them and they toss them. I'm not trying to be insensitive. Really, that's where all Hallmark cards end up, is in the trash. And they're like $6 a piece or more. It's ridiculous for a piece of cardboard. So everybody buys cards for Valentine's Day. So I thought it'd be really cool to make cards, make a wooden card. And so this one I found is a cool idea. This one's laser cut, but again, you could cut this with a CNC router as well, and just put a unique message on it. You could, this one has 2 layers, has a base layer, then it has a contrasting wood top layer, which is just unique. But you get the idea. You could customize this however you wanted with hearts, different colored hearts. You could paint it. You could do different kinds of woods. There really is a lot of options here. So if you made blank cards, just like they do, just like Hallmark does, or Walmart or Target or any of them do, and then you could sell them for people to sign. I think that's still neat to be able to give wooden cards. And to be honest with you, wooden cards are just better than cardboard $6 cards. So the crazy thing about this, and I'm thinking about this on the spot here, but you could make a wooden card for cheaper than you could buy a paper card. But you could sell the wooden card for more than you could buy a paper card. An interesting thought. But sell these for $10. I think that's completely reasonable for something customizable. Sell them and still leave a place where they could write a little handwritten note with a Sharpie or with a pen and sign it. I just think it's a cool alternative to paper cards. Number 6 is this I Love You jewelry tray. Now, this is the one I'm making for my wife, and you can make for your loved one as well. I'll have everything in the description below for you to be able to do that, including the files that I used. But hang tight, don't go to the description yet, because I am going to show you exactly how I made this jewelry tray. Now, I am using mahogany, but you can use any material that you have. Hardwood, maple, oak, walnut, any of those will work. But let's get into the project and I'll show you exactly how I made it. All right, so the first bit we're gonna use for this project is a 1-inch surfacing bit. We're gonna do this to flatten our stock on each side. Now, I have a planer, and I typically use my planer to flatten my stock, or you can buy, pre-flattened stock that's a little more expensive. But today, just to make sure everything is flat, or if you don't have flat stock, or you don't have a planer, you can do this. Here's another way to do it. So we're gonna take our stock that is starting out at 1 7/8" thickness down to 1 1/4", because that's how thick I want this tray. All right, so we just finished up this first flattening pass to get the correct thickness. And I forgot something, imagine that. I need to run downstairs to the shop real quick and cut off this excess piece. I forgot to cut my stock to the width that I was gonna use, so no big deal. I'm just gonna do that real quick, and then we'll flip this and do the same thing on the other side to get our final thickness. All right, so we got our mahogany to the thickness that we want. Final thickness is 1 1/4". I always like to tap my collet nut, not a lot, because you can loosen the bearings in here, doing it a lot, but just to giving it a little tap, just to knock some of the sawdust out of there. You can also take the collet nut off and hit it like this. But if you don't get the dust out of there, you won't be able to get a good grip on the shank of the bit. The next bit I'm using is a 60-degree V-groove bit, and this is gonna be a really quick toolpath. What it's gonna do is put a chamfer on the top edge of our jewelry tray. This is really just gonna set it off, kind of a detail. Small details. It's all in the small details. All right, so for my V-groove bits, I like to set them, the X and the Y 0 to, I like to set it manually. And one of the reasons is that a V-groove bit is obviously angled like a V, and so your offsets can be off. If you're using a plate like this that sets your XYZ 0, and as the bit is coming to touch off, since your bit is angled, it's an angled surface, your offsets can be off because of that angled surface, if that makes sense. I just set it manually, which you could do anyways. Some CNCs don't even have a touch plate, but just to explain what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna put that V, tip of that V right on the corner here and 0 that way. All right, so 60-degree V-groove bit is done. Next we're gonna use is the 3/4" bowl and tray bit. And what this is gonna do is this is gonna give us our pocket. So it's a pocketing toolpath. It's gonna do 2 toolpaths actually. First, it's gonna rough everything out with a large step over, like 75% step over. And then it's gonna come back and I'm gonna tighten that step over. So think about step over, a large step over. The passes are further apart, and a tighter step over, the passes are closer together. The closer the passes are together, the smoother the finish we get. And that's the goal. So we got to our final depth of 3/4 inch for our pocket. The next bit is going to be this 30-degree V-groove bit, engraving bit. So you can tell it has a very fine point. So this engraving bit is going to engrave all of our I love you text. Now this toolpath is going to take a while. The computer says about 30 minutes. We'll end up and see how long it actually is going to take. Sometimes those estimates are not accurate, but this is a lot of up and down. This is a deep pocket, so we'll see. I want to make sure I have the clearance. I want to make sure my collet doesn't hit the sides here. Just know, take your collet and your depth. Like if you're carving, if you're engraving at a depth that's not at the surface, you just need to watch out where your collet is going to land once your bit gets down to that lettering depth. It'll make sense here when you see it. Okay, the engraving is finished. Now that took it cleared off the screen, but it took around 20 minutes. I checked it when it was about 3/4 of the way done, and it was at 12 minutes. So 20 minutes, not bad to engrave all of this. Now it's a little hard to see. It's a little faint. If I was to do this all over again, I may go a tad deeper, but I may not. So where I'm at, my thought process is, it's always a good idea to go over V carving or or engraving twice. The second time, run the same exact toolpath, same depth, same everything, will clean it up a lot. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna run this a second time, but first I'm gonna do the final profile toolpath around the outside because I have all these toolpaths sandwiched together in one file. So I'm just gonna continue, do the bit change, and go on and do it. So all the bits that I've used for this project. I've used a total of 5 bits, are all andybirdbuilds bits. These are high quality American made bits where you can skip the confusion and start making projects on your CNC right away. You don't have to worry about, is this a good bit? Isn't this a good bit? Am I spending too much? This is a happy medium, a good quality American made bit for a good price. So all that, including the file for this project, will be down in the descriptions below. So head to andybirdbuilds.com, click the link in the description, whatever way you want to get there, and pick up a set of andybirdbuilds bits. I literally left an onion skin here, which is just a term for leaving a little bit of wood. I usually like to cut all the way through so it's nice and clean. But this is literally like, I'll show you here. It's almost perfect, to be honest with you. Like you can see, like it's just a tiny bit on the bottom, and I'm using a down cut bit. So it's pushing all that material down, downwards. And so it gets packed in there. But also, it kind of gives you a little bit of security in there too, because it's packing that tool path. And so nothing will move on you when you cut all the way through. But yeah, look at that. All right, so like I have for all the rest of them, let's break down the price for this item. Now, I made this out of mahogany. You could make this out of any hardwood, like I said earlier, so that will dictate the price. But I figure I have about $10 into the mahogany I used for this project. So $10, it took me about an hour to create from start to finish. And that's because I ran that engraving toolpath twice, which was 20 minutes a time. The other toolpaths were really, really quick. It took me a while to create the file, but again, the file's available for you, so you don't have to create the file. It's a cool thing about CNC, create the file once, make a bunch of them. So in my area, I think I can sell this for $50. $40 to $50, I think, is completely reasonable for something like this. Even more is possible depending on where you are and who you're selling them to. But I picture this as like a $40 to $50 item. It's a jewelry tray. It's not personalized. It's not one of a kind. I could make a bunch of these, but it's made out of mahogany. So I would say 4 to 5x material cost is a good estimate of what this would sell for. So remember, everything that you need to create one of these on your CNC is down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.